Hello everyone, my name is Asyrafchazz and welcome back to yet another One Piece card game video. So today we're going to take a look at every single OP-03 card that has been released. The full card list is officially out and there is a link to the Japanese version of the site in the description below. So what I'm referring to right now in this video is going to be a Google Translated version of the website, because they have not updated the official translations on the Asia version of the website. But don't worry, thanks to the lovely folks over on the Discord, shout out to Helmsman Helio, the official GOAT. He has put up the translations of the cards itself, so if there's any inaccuracies, I will be referring to the ones on Discord. Either way, we're just going to take a look at every single card today. We're going to talk about them a little bit, so this might be a really long video, or I'm going to split it in two. I'm not sure. When I'm editing, I'll decide. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy the card review. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribing if you want to keep up to date with more One Piece card game content. Without further ado, let's get into every single card from OP-03. Alright, so we are going to be starting with the red card itself. Starting with the leader, Podcast DAs, the one that I have deemed the S tier, and I still think that this is going to be one of the strongest leaders coming into the OP-03 meta. If you want to see a full breakdown of the leaders, I do actually have a video about that. Link will be in the description below, but we're just going to go through them briefly. So it's a 5000 power leader, and his ability is when this leader attacks or is attacked, you may discard any number of event or stage cards from your hand. For each card discarded, this leader gets 1000 power during this battle. So just a kind of something that I saw with the Q&A recently regarding Ace's ability is that when you are using his ability, it's actually before blockers and counters are declared. So before you declare any blockers, you have to say that, oh, I imagine if someone's attacking you for like 7k, and then you're like, okay, before declaring any blockers, I'm going to use Ace ability, I'm going to discard an event or stage card, I'm going to increase his power by 1000 and then move to blockers. Maybe you don't block, move to counters, you just counter with 2k, making him an 8k leader, and then you're out of it. So Ace is very strong, and there are so many event cards that can be utilized with Ace's ability, and we're just going to take a look at all of the event cards later on for sure. But Ace, definitely a really strong leader, and I'm excited to try him out for sure. Next is Adio. We have talked about Adio before. His 4 cost 5000 power with counter 1000, and his ability is Dawn 1. When attacking, your opponent cannot activate the blocker of characters with power 2000 or less during this battle. So Adio, like I think I mentioned before, it's very situational. If the meta calls for it, if there's a lot of small powered blockers, which there might be, people always playing the 1 cost Capone Gang Beige, Adio might be quite useful. The only downside of Adio, and also Rim later on, is that they have the Odyssey subtrait, so they're not searchable. Maybe there will be more Odyssey support in the future if someone can finish the damn game, because it's really quite long. Either way, I think Adio is an interesting spot for sure, but I don't think it's going to be a standout card in OP-03. Alright, next is Izo. Izo is a 1 cost 2000 power searcher with counter 1000, and Izo's ability is when on play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with a Whitebeard Pirate's trait other than Izo and add it to your hand, and then put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is the dedicated Whitebeard searcher. This is definitely going to be a staple moving forward, not only for Ace but for Whitebeard, because both of them share the Whitebeard Pirates subtrait. At the same time, they are using the Whitebeard Pirates card. Izo is going to be the same realm as like Nami or Buggy from the Ivankov's deck, because it's just a really good searcher. This is going to be a staple. If you're going to OP-03, get your playset and then forget about it. It's great. Izo is great. Alright, next up is Curiel. I hope I'm saying that correctly. A 3 cost 4000 power with counter 1000, and I'm referring to the Discord for the ability. This character cannot attack the leader on the turn in which it is played. And then it has Dawn 1, this character gains Rush. So this character cannot attack the leader on the turn that it is played, but it gains Rush with Dawn 1. So like it cancels out its own ability. I thought this was going to be like it shuts off characters cannot attack the leader on the turn in which it's played. Then it kind of like, it's a hate card for all rush things. So if the translation is this character, that means only Curiel cannot attack the leader during a turn it appears, then it's let's go. But you can still attack characters, you still can attack rested characters. So there might be some situations where Kyrill might be good, but then again, it's like, oh man, I wish it could attack leaders, because like, you know, what if you're going down in the late game and you need like a rush card, a rush character to attack it to your opponent for life, then Kyrill would have been perfect. But no, it's not. It just can only attack rested characters. So maybe it's just like, it doesn't want it to be, maybe they don't want it to be too powerful, because you already got like Luffy, you already got Ace that has like rush without stipulation. So I think Kyrill, you know, if once again, it's like if the meta calls for it, if like you need to get rid of something that's rested, when there's a plethora of other really strong event removals, then, you know, you can play Kyrill. But I don't see it making waves in the next meta game for sure. Alright, then we got Thatch. Thatch is a 1 cost 2000 power with counter 1000. Activate main once per turn. This character gains plus 2000 power during this turn. Then at the end of this turn, put this character into trash. It could be good. Like, that's the thing. This card could be very interesting in Zoro decks, that you may need that extra 5k attack into your opponent. So but at the end of the turn, you got to get rid of Thatch, which is, you know, kind of thematic, by the way. So it could be interesting. This, I'm curious to see if Zoro players would run Thatch as a kind of like one hit and then that's it, like a one and done type character. There are better 1 cost characters, I believe, but the addition to giving it 2000 power, which you don't really have to use his ability, you can just have it as a 1 cost 2000 power, so quote-unquote vanilla, and then power it up in other ways, you know, using Makino, using Zoro's ability or your Dawns, and then when you need that extra 2000 power boost, then you use his ability, like when you're going for game or something. So interesting card. Excited to see if people are gonna run him in Zoro lists in the future. Yeah, I think it's like an above average, but the stipulation and the drawback might be too much that people will just find other things to play. Next is Speed Jill, 4 cost 6000 power with counter 1000. This is your 4 cost 6000 power vanilla, so let's move on. Same thing with Namor, 3 cost 5000 power with counter 1000. This is your 3 cost 5000 power vanilla, so let's move on. Alright, next up is Buggy. Now, I've talked about Buggy before, but we're going to talk about him again. 1 cost 3000 power, and his has an ability that says this character cannot be KO'd in a battle with hearts with the slash attribute. So not specifically only character cards, but leaders included. So that's the added benefit of his ability. And his ability, second ability, is on play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 red event card, add it to your hand, and put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is your red dedicated event card searcher, which when you're playing Ace, it's definitely going to be necessary. I think it's going to be very, very useful, because there's so many event cards that Ace can run, because you don't mind having multiples in your hand, because you can use it to with Ace's ability, and you can kind of look for the things that you need, and like if you don't have the Dawns to use it, keep them in your hand to use as potential counters in the future. Buggy, definitely going to be a staple in the future. Even non-Ace red decks that have a game plan for, like, I don't know, maybe like events in the future, this could be really interesting as well. Alright, next up is Haruta, 2 cost 3000 power, I believe it's a slasher attribute with counter 1000, and his ability is activate main once per turn, add up to 1 Dawn, 1 vested Dawn to your leader or your character. So this is a slightly stronger stat line version of the starter deck Nami, where you can make use of your vested Dawns. You know, it could be quite interesting. We know that Garb, the red-black Garb, could benefit from, you know, effects like these, because every single vested Dawn attached to a character or your leader means a -1 cost to a character's like costs. And you know, the more options that you have, like between Nami and Haruta, it could be quite interesting. So I think if Garb needs to play, and if someone wants to play Garb, and if they need to use the ability, then Haruta could definitely see some play in the future. Also not a super outstanding card, because you gotta find the right place to fit it, and there are stronger cards out there in the red color. I think it's good, and it might see play. Next we have Forza, 2 cost 2000 power with counter 1000, and it's a blocker. So it's a searchable blocker if you want to use this or you want to use the other blocker. But the good thing about this is it's counter 1000, so it's actually quite decent. And yeah, I think if people want to fill up their slots with that 2-cost blocker, then 4-star is definitely a really good card to be in that slot. Next up, we have Blamenko, 2-cost 3000 power, the striker attribute with counter 1000. His ability is Dawn 1. When attacking, up to one of your opponent's characters gets minus 2000 power during this turn. So interesting ability for sure. I mean, like the ability to give something minus 2000 power on attack could be useful for certain cards because you can combo it with cards like let's say Vista, the Marco, the super rare Marco that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and a lot of other cards. You can minus 2000 and then Nico Robin something could be interesting for sure. Whether or not you want to use Blamenko as a slot in the deck, that's the thing, because it might be too slow, because there are other cards that do the same effect but better and faster, like for example like Squad, or for example my favorite card Round Table. Of course this is more mana efficient and it's a great early turn play, just not sure whether people will be including Blamenko into decks in the future. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if people do run Blamenko in decks just to try him out. Alright, next up we got Marshall D. Teach, 4-cost 6000 power, and his ability is when attacking, you can place one red character with 4000 or more power in the trash, then draw a card. After that, this character gains 1000 power during this battle. You know what's a good red character with 4000 or more power that you can trash? Thatch. Yeah, so thematically, like lore-wise, it's a good card, but as a playability standpoint, may not be that great. Because yeah, you are sacrificing a character, maybe it's a character you don't need, just because like you are trashing one red character to draw a card technically, and of course he gets 1000 power. I'm interested to see whether people will use Marshall D. Teach. I don't think it's that good of a card because it's outclassed by other people, but I have been proven wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong by people that are way better than me. I'm just a person that likes to read card effects and open boxes. But then again, Marshall D. Teach, very interesting. Love the art on it. Sorry, Blackbeard TCG, this is a closer thing that you will get to a Blackbeard leader for now. Maybe in set 7 he will come out, but Marshall D. Teach, very interesting for sure. I'm excited to see whether he gets played. Alright, next up is Marco the Phoenix, our first super rare of OP-03 that it's in red. 5-cost 6000 power with counter 1000, so immediately above stat line, really good card. And his ability is during your turn or on your turn, on play, KO up to one of your opponent's character with 3000 power or less. That's good. That's a Vista right there, but on a like a bigger body, it's really good. And his second ability is on KO, you may discard one event card from your hand, then play this character from the trash as arrested. I'm just reading it off the Discord because there's a better translation. Yeah, this card is definitely going to be, this is the meta defining card for sure. This is going to be one of those annoying cards that you have to properly deal with. It's good. This card is really good, and pairing it with some of the other cards I'm gonna see that can reduce power. When I saw this card, I was like, yep, this is the ace card right there. Oh, this is the Whitebeard Pirates card, because like it's a really good red super rare. I love it. And not to mention the artwork itself, I thought this was the alternate art, then I saw the border on it. I was like, still, this card looks really good on its own. You don't really need the AA if you don't want to. But Marco, definitely a really good card. 10 out of 10. Next up, we got Monkey D. Garb. 3-cost 5000 power, the striker attribute. And his ability is when attacking, play up to one red character card with a cost of 1 from your hand. This card is really strong, I think, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if Zoro players will want to spend a turn to play out Garb and then potentially have a one cost red character for free, but they can, and they should, because I think this card might be, I don't know, it's like, do you just want to play out 3 1-drops, or do you want to play out Monkey D. Garb and get one cost in the future for free if he can attack? That's the stipulation right there. It's like, is it fast enough? Is it fast enough for Zoro? But I still think it's a good mid-rangey threat that Zoro may want to try out, or actually any red deck that utilizes 1 red cost, because you can technically attack with Monkey D. Garb and then play out either an Izo or play out a Buggy or Nami and then search off it, right? So immediately that's like super valuable. That's value right there. So I think, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna kind of be a hard firm on this, I think this card is good. I think this card might be decent might see some play. Alright, next up we got Rim. 3 cost, 2000 power. Rim has blocker, and his ability is during your opponent's turn. When this character is KO'd, up to one of your opponent's leader or characters minus 2000 power during the turn. This card, I think we spoke about it before, it's a situational minus 2000, but in certain situations, I think it's going to be really useful. The downside is, one, it's not searchable because it's an Odyssey sub-trait, and two, it doesn't have any counter on it. So it's already you're down, like if you take like the baseline, 2 cost 2000 power with counter 1000 and a sub-trait that you can search for example like Whitebeard Pirates, then Rim kind of falls a little bit short because this effect is very situational and you may not even benefit from it if your opponent can play around. Your opponent can play around Rim's KO ability. I think like it's below average, but I'll be surprised if people actually play Rim in their decks moving forward, especially for OP-03. Alright, next up we have Entei, and I believe the proper translation is called a Flame Emperor. This is the event card right here. So main, if your leader is Podgast the Ace, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 8000 power or less, and then your leader gains double attack and plus 3000 power during this turn. Its trigger ability is KO up to one of your opponent's characters with power 6000 power or less. Yeah, let's just take a moment to let this sink in. This is by far one of the strongest event cards that I've ever seen. You can immediately get rid of an opposing player's Kozuki Oden. The OP-01 used as kit with just one card. Even like opposing kings from Kaido players' side of the field, and it gives your your own leader plus 3000 power and double attack. So it's like I was talking to like Zave about this earlier, is that I think he mentioned that it's as though you're paying 4 Dawn for this card, because take it as you're attaching 3 Dawn to your leader and then paying 4 Dawn for the ability to give your leader double attack and KOing something that's 8000 power less. I think this card is extremely strong, not to mention the trigger ability is essentially a jet pistol. And Ace can run 4 of these no problem and can use it for his ability in the early game, and then use it when he needs to in the late game. This card is very strong. Get a playset of this card. Maybe if you want to run 3, it's fine, but it's searchable with Buggy, so it's really good. I don't know, when I saw this, I was like, yep, this is gonna be one of those meta defining cards for sure. Yeah, meta defining. So this is Crossfire, a 2 cost event card with the ability main and counter, so it's very versatile. If your leader has a trait that includes Whitebeard Pirates, up to one of your opponent's characters gets minus 4000 power during this turn. So first of all, it's a standard 2 cost 4000 power counter, so it's instead of plussing yourself by 4000, you are reducing the attack of one of your opponent's characters, not leaders though, but just the characters by 4000, so you can definitely survive the attack. And during the main, you can use this in conjunction with, let's say, Vista or the Marco the Phoenix that we talked about earlier on, to get rid of something really strong, because minus 4000 is quite substantial, and minus 4000 with Crossfire, you can pair that with Otama, and then you can play it with Vista. You can effectively minus 6000 or even more if you have other cards that can work together with this. I think Crossfire is going to be versatile. It's definitely one of those cards that may or may not see play depending on what the meta calls for it. If you need to get rid of some bigger threats immediately, then yeah, you can definitely use Crossfire to reduce that substantial power to a manageable amount. You can even use it to just reduce something by 4000 and then attack into it. So that's really cool as well. I think it's an above average card. I'm excited to see people making use of Crossfire in the future. Alright, next up we got Fire Fist. This is the one that has the alternate art on it, so I'm really excited to see how the alternate art looks like in person. It's a 3 cost event card with the ability on your turn main, you can discard 1 event card from your hand, KO up to 1 character with 5000 power or less, or one character with power 4000 or less from your opponent. Then its trigger ability is KO up to one of your opponent's characters with power 5000 or less. This is also one of those meta defining cards because it's so versatile that you can get rid of 2 of your opponent's like mid-rangey threats just with 1 card, with this event card and another event card, because you need to discard an event card to use it. And the trigger ability is quite strong as well. So I really like Fire Fist. I think it's going to be really strong, and Ace definitely benefits from having this in the deck for sure. I mean, it's a signature ability, really good. I like it. I like it. Alright, next up we got Fire Daruma, but on the Discord it says Fiery Doll. Its ability is main, your leader gains plus 4000 power during this turn. Its triggered ability is give up to one of your opponent's leader or characters minus 10,000 power during this turn. This card is really cool, I think. Imagine if you use the Flame Emperor event card and you just want to juice up your leader by another 4000 power. That's already 7000 power boost to your leader. If you're using Ace, that's a 12,000 power beater, and you still have, like, I believe 1 Dawn left over. You can make your leader 13,000 power with double attack. Who doesn't want to do that? But that's the thing. It's a very, I don't know, this card may be a trap, in my opinion. It could be really good if you want to go all in, but you know, because it's Ace, you can discard it for counters technically. So I'm curious to see whether or not this ability, this main ability, will see play, because I don't see people running this just because they don't want to go all in, essentially. But I've been proven wrong before, and I'm excited to see how this card shakes up in the metagame. And last but not least, it's Striker. This is the red stage card of the set. This is your 1-cost stage card, and his ability is activate main, pay 2 Dawn. You may rest this stage. If your leader is Podcast the Ace, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 event card and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This is a repeatable searcher for red event cards. I don't see any reason to not run 4 of Striker, and the only reason why I'm saying like run 4 is because you can discard stage cards to Ace's ability as well. So if you draw your extra stage cards, if you draw your extra strikers, just use them on Ace's ability, and then you can keep doing this. I think well, and this may be kind of like putting it out there, I think the reason why there's a additional like black stage removal card, which we'll talk about when we talk about the black cards, is because of this card. I don't know, that's just what I feel. I think this card is really strong. Imagine if this card reads a pay 2 Dawn, draw 1 card. Do you value, would you play that card? Because I would, because like you just want to draw cards, right? You don't even loot, you search the top 5 cards of your deck for a event card. I like it, man. Dude, like I really think that Striker is a really strong event card. I think there's no reason not to run 4. I've been wrong about stage cards before because I thought Marineford was going to be like one of those like really strong stage cards. Then it was outclassed by everything else in OP-02. But since it's coming from the set itself, I think this might be it. I think this might be, besides Onagashima and Galila Company, this might be the strongest stage card that we've seen before. This is a bold statement, but I think this card is going to be meta-defining. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, that's what I'm going to say about it, but I think this is going to be one of the meta-defining cards for sure. Okay, alright, seeing as how this video has reached 27 minutes from the time of this recording already, I'm gonna break it up by color. I'm sorry, I wanted to do a really long one, but I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking about each and every one of these cards. So, but that's it for all the red OP-03 cards. I think red is going to be one of the strongest decks, using Ace, using Whitebeard, and it's gonna be really fun to see how the other decks like Nami, the Galila Company deck that we're probably going to see in the future hold its own against like red. I think red really tests the mettle of the player itself. Like the player has to really know what they're doing to make this deck really good. And seeing as how there's a lot of like really talented players out there, I can't wait for them to play with this deck. It's going to be really fun to watch for sure. Anyway, that's it for the red cards for OP-03. We're going to talk about the green cards and as well as all the other colors soon. So look out for that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.